What's up, Heartcore peeps out there? I'm Chell. That's Miko.
Hi, it's nice to have you back.
I'm stoked to be back. And this is Heartcore, the human design podcast where we dive into all of the things. We've dove into some random topics, but they all have the common thread of human design, as does today's. I'm stoked to be back. Thanks for holding down the fort without me.
You're very welcome. Luke and I tried our best.
Did you not? Okay, so my understanding is you did not describe who Luke was.
Yeah. Correct. Yes, last time I talked about Luke, he was my co-host. What is it? Like stand-in co-host. He's actually a stuffed duck. stuffed teddy duck.
I love that.
So, for everyone that was listening the last time but wasn't watching, that's who Luke is. It's not actually a real person. It was just a stuffed teddy duck that I needed to look into the eyes of someone, or something in this case, to pretend like I was talking to someone or something.
And it worked. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so since you were on a love kick last week, and actually still on a love kick 2 weeks ago when we talked about serial killers, we're still on a love kick now, and I don't know if we can call it that, because some things have changed in the news over the last couple of weeks for today's topic, but we're going to take it back like 2 decades. Are you guys ready to go into the time machine real quick, back to the early 2000s when Canadian tuxedos were in?
I'm ready.
So we're going to take it back to 2002-ish, 2003-ish, when OG Bennifer got together. And this is Ben Affleck and J-Lo, like early 2000s. And I believe they had just done Gilly, Gili, together, the movie that was apparently a 2003 flop. I don't remember it.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. See, there you go. So it is a flop. Check the Rotten Tomatoes on it. So they did that movie together, and then they were also in Jersey Girl together. And I loved the movie Jersey Girl, being a New Yorker. I don't know, it was a cute movie. Anyway, so they were in a couple of like pretty big like rom-com situations in the early 2000s, and then they also had a real relationship outside of that as like kind of one of the it couples in the early 2000s. And I'm pretty sure they were also engaged as well at that point, and then ended up, J-Lo called it off a couple of months before they were supposed to get married, and it just wasn't a good situation, other than like they were just a little bit too into, or rather the media was too into their relationship, and they felt that they were like being presented and put on a stage, and it just wasn't the right timing, it wasn't the right place, it was too much pressure, I feel like, is kind of what they were experiencing together as a couple. Fast forward like a year and a half, Ben Affleck gets married to another Jennifer. This is Jennifer Garner from 13 Going on 30. Love that movie. 30, Flirty, and Thriving. Let's go. Oh my God, I can't believe that was like a decade ago, and now I'm in my 30s. Not flirting because I'm married, and thriving because life. Yeah, so he got married to Jennifer Garner. They were married from 2004 to 2018. They had several kids together. My understanding, though, is towards the end of their marriage, Ben started to drink a significant amount. He turned to other coping mechanisms that just weren't healthy in their relationship, so they went their separate ways, but they're still really good co-parents since then. And that's been, 6 years since they're split. And they have a healthy relationship as co-parents for their kiddos, which I think is probably really important. Then, back on J-Lo's side, after her split with Ben Affleck, she got married to Marc Antonio? No, that's not his name. Enrique Iglesias? No, that's also not his name. Guys, I'm crushing it right now.
But actually, I did meet both of them at a wedding in south of France, but I just don't know his name because I was taking pictures back then. I was a photographer.
I was going to ask how. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So there was a wedding, and there were, I think, 300 people, and they had invited David Guetta, Jennifer Lopez, and some violinist that was in back in the day to perform. So,
Yes, his name is Mark Anthony. There you go.
Good.
See, I knew I wasn't going crazy. So she actually got married the next year as well. After their relationship with each other, right? The OG, Bennifer, Ben Affleck, and J-Lo, they both got married the next year to completely different people. So she got married to Mark Anthony. They also went on to have several children together. And then they split in 2014. He separately has gone on to marry several more times as well. Nonetheless, after their split, J-Lo was with A-Rod for a hot minute. He was a pretty significant player on the Yankees, my favorite baseball team, just throwing that out there. And then in 2021, I believe, her and Ben Affleck got back together, and then they got married in 2022, so 2 years ago. And then, as of this recording, like not even 25-ish days ago, she filed for divorce on August 20th, their 2-year wedding anniversary. Awkward. So, my understanding from what I've read, you probably know this by now, guys, but Miko and I don't tabloid, we don't magazine, we don't Entertainment Tonight, we don't Keep Up with the Stars or Kardashians for that matter. So, this is from my digging, and my understanding is like, their relationship over the last 2 years has been like the thing that we all wish like 90s/early 2000s actors would do, right? Like if Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt were to get back together, OMG, right? Like that would be like the early 2000s it couple. Or I guess to make it a little bit more millennial relatable, like if J Beebs and Selena Gomez got back together, right? I feel like that's what this is kind of like. So my understanding is Jennifer Lopez kind of just like put all of their news, all of their life on blast over these last 2 years. And they actually like created this love documentary together, and it was loosely based on their lives and their experiences and their love letters. And she kind of gave all of that information to the writers, the script writers for this movie, and overshared, not just with them, but also with media. So Ben Affleck felt like his life was on blast without his consent, and it seemed as though like a lot of the leaks to the tabloids about their happy relationship came through her voice. Like that's what it sounded like, right? So it just seemed a lot more publicized, and potentially she wanted it that way. He did not. They never really looked happy in public. There were a lot of articles, a lot of videos of them just being really frustrated with each other in public, having like outward arguments, and then even more recently at awards shows, just Ben just like not looking like he wanted to be there at all. So it's just a little awkward, like seeing them together in person. It just looks really forced. It doesn't look like it did 2 decades ago, which led to a split in April. I believe that's when it was like a couple of weeks after their movie had come out. This Is Me, and I believe it's on Amazon Prime or Netflix. I can't recall which. But after that split, the movie went up like 3,000% in views. So if that was a movie stunt, great job, guys, you did it. If it was life and just really poorly timed or really well timed, damn, you also did it. Great job. So they had been separated since April of this past year, right? So 2024, and then she officially filed for divorce on August 20th of this year. And that is my understanding of their last 2 decades summed up in under 10 minutes, because hot damn. All right, so Miko, how does this translate to their human designs and the dude in the center of all of this being Ben?
First of all, that sounds horrible. It sounds like a lot of roller coaster, and sounds very painful. Especially, I always feel sorry because it's in the public eye, and when you're having such challenging relationships privately, it's already difficult. But to have to always keep a brave face, more or less trying to keep a brave face in the public, and of course failing at it because we can't hide our emotions even when we're actors, having such intense, difficult situations in public and in front of cameras. It's extremely difficult to hide and also not fair. Then a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but they signed up for it, they're actors, that's what they wanted in life. I don't know if you can really sign up for something like this.
Dude, and I feel like there are so many famous people who stay out of the limelight, like who get their movies done, who do the press that need to be done, but then you don't hear about them at all, you know? So I don't think it has to be this outward in the media all the time, right? I think people put themselves in that position or surround themselves with people who are in that position. So I agree. Doesn't have, like, fame doesn't have to come with being everywhere all the time.
And then we kind of also come to the relationship dynamics, because depending on who you're with, I feel like Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner were less in the public eye. They were more hidden. They were trying to keep it private. And Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are much more in the public eye. So let's take a look at why that may be. So we're first going to take a look at the individual charts, and then we're going to look at the combination charts. And we're going to focus mostly on the love gates that I talked about in the last episode, because I had kind of hinted that we're going to make them more accessible by going through the charts. And it's also, these are love relationships, so it is going to be quite interesting to take a look at that aspect of the relationship. So first of all, we have 10 love gates. And when we're taking a look at a human design chart, you can see the G center, and you will have the anti-mundane love gates in this G center. They are the ones that are connected to the vessel of love. So gate 25, gate 46, gate 15, and gate 10. These are the anti-mundane or transpersonal, it's also called transpersonal love gates. Gate 10 is a gate that can be both personal and transpersonal. Then we have gate 44 as a personal love gate in the spleen, gate 40 in the ego center, gate 55 in the emotional solar plexus. On the opposite side in the spleen, we have gate 28. Then we have in the root gate 58 and gate 41 in the root as well. I hope I didn't forget any, but that should add up to 10. If you count gate 10 twice, then it's 11 gates. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is Ben Affleck's design, and maybe Celestina would like to just say a overall overview about what she sees and which centers, for example, are defined, undefined, and how that can play a role in his design.
Yeah, so we're looking at a 5-1 sacral manifesting generator with an undefined head, an undefined ajna, a defined throat, unconscious connection from his throat to his spleen, the G center defined with a ton of connection to the spleen as well as the sacral defined, the heart wide open. I feel like that's going to be an interesting point here that we are going to touch on. Emotional center, only one gate popping out of there, so I feel like that's also going to be something that we're going to touch on. And then a bit of root energy, nonetheless undefined in the root. So definitely taking in energy from a couple of different places and may not have a lot of touch with his emotions. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out with these other two ladies.
Me too. Thank you for explaining what we can see here. He also has an undefined head and undefined ajna. And he is a single definition. So energy-wise, he doesn't really need anyone per se to be in a relationship with. So he kind of feels pretty whole energetically within himself. Even if the spleen is only unconsciously connected to the throat, he would still be a single definition, because the spleen, the G center and the sacral are still creating a single definition. So this is the general overview for Ben Affleck. We're not really going to get into much more detail at the moment because otherwise we're going to be expanding this episode to a very long one, which is anyways probably going to happen. But we also have a left angle cross here of revolution. Revolution, let's leave that also to the side for now, but the left angle cross is also going to play a role. He has the circuitries of empowerment and sharing, so the tribal circuitries are less. There is more individual and collective circuitry in his design. Bennifer Garner, would you like to do her?
All right, guys, we are working with a 2/4 emotional manifesting generator with a completely open head, a defined ajna with the I believe channel to her throat, as well as a connection to her spleen, as well as the emotional center, as well as her sacral center, all from her throat. She has an undefined G center, an undefined ego center, and a decent amount of energy coming from her root. And the root is also connected to her sacral center.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. And she's also a single definition. So as well, she feels whole within herself energetically. That always, sometimes when you say this to people, they're like, yeah, but I really want a partner. It can still be the case that you have this desire, but this desire usually comes from a mental conditioning. It's not an energetic need that you have inside of you. It's more of your community, the societal surroundings, maybe your family. They keep telling you, hey, when are you getting married? When are you getting married? When are you getting married? Things like that. So then at some point you start to believe it and you're like, yeah, I really need a partner. And it's also, I mean, of course, it's nice to share your life, but I'm just speaking energetically here. Theoretically, both of these individuals feel whole within themselves. Okay, so profile-wise, the Bennifer Garner has a 2/4 profile, and Ben Affleck has a 5/1 profile. And when you're looking at the trigrams, so if you look at these hexagrams here, you have a lower trigram, which is the 3 lines at the bottom of the hexagram, and you have the upper trigram, which is the 3 lines on the top of the hexagram. So this bottom line is basically line 1, the next one line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, line 6. If you're watching, I just went from the top to bottom. If you're not watching, I mean, if you're just listening. So I'm showing a hexagram on the screen if you're just listening. And if you're looking at their profile, so we have the 5th line in Ben Affleck's conscious side, and we have the 2nd line in Bennifer Garner's conscious side. So you look here at the hexagram again. You have the 2nd line in the lower trigram, and you have the 5th line, which is also in the middle in the upper trigram. So they are relating to one another. They understand one another in a certain way. And it does make a difference whether it is in your conscious or your unconscious, because when you're consciously a 2nd line and a 5th line coming together, you can relate to one another a bit more easily than when one of them would have the 5th line in the unconscious and the other one in the 2nd line in the conscious. So when you're then looking at the unconscious, she has a 4th line and he has a 1st line, which is again creating the similar dynamics. So the 1st line is the 1st line on the upper trigram, and the 4th line is the 1st line in the lower trigram is the 1st line. And in the upper trigram, it's also the lowest line of the upper trigram. So they both need a sense of security. They need a sense of foundation, so they understand each other in that aspect, that the safety and security aspect needs to be there. They just need it in different ways. It's not going to be the same approach. The left angle cross and right angle cross, however, they have different life paths. So the left angle cross is here to influence the world around them more and guide the world around them more than the right angle cross. The right angle cross is more self-absorbed. They're more about what can I do to become the best version of myself. So that is a bit of a difference in their harmonies with one another. But overall, they can relate on a lot of levels. Also, if you look at their centers, you will see that they're both manifesting generators. So they do relate on that front as well. They both have the sacral defined, of course, as a manifesting generator. They also both have the spleen defined, which is another connection point. So wherever the centers are equally defined, so when not equally as in the same connections, but if both have the same centers defined, then they can relate on these themes. So they also both have the throat defined as a manifesting generator. The rest is not same or similar. So they don't really relate on the thematics of the root, the emotional solar plexus, or the G center. These are energies that they bring into the relationship, one or the other. And they also together, another addition is also the ajna that Jennifer Garner adds to the picture that Ben Affleck doesn't carry in his design. So together they don't define anything additionally. It's just energies that one brings in or the other brings into the picture. Is there anything you would like to touch on for now?
I don't know much about their marriage together, but it's interesting that energetically they're not bringing anything new to the relationship together. I think it's cool that they can kind of like harmonize and resonate with each other's like different levels in the trigram. I think that that's really cool because as a 6-2, it's very challenging for me to understand a 5-1, you know? So it's interesting to see a 2-4 and a 5-1 in a decade plus relationship understanding each other. Granted, it didn't last forever, but like it's really interesting to see them come together in that way, and also their electromagnetic channels together, right? Like they do have ways of understanding each other. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is not that much compromise in their chart. So let's actually step back a little and talk about the electromagnetics and the compromising channels. So there are 4 different types of ways that you can connect with another person through gates and creating channels, basically. There is a dominance channel, which means that one person has the full channel. And as you can see here, that Ben Affleck has the 4816. So this is about skills and talent. So the more that he practices a certain skill, the better he will get at it. And this is really his dominance within their relationship. And she has the 3536, which is also very interesting because they are both collective channels, just that one of them is abstract. So the 3536 is the abstract collective, and the 4816 is the logical collective. So for her, the dominance 3536 is about this adventure, trying things out, experiencing new things. But they still, even in that, they kind of relate to one another because it's still collective, but they don't get it because they don't have a companionship channel, which means that if someone has companionship channels, it's the same channel. They both carry the same channel. So in this case, they both would have, if it was a companionship, they both would have 3536 or they both would have 4816. However, what does happen with dominance channels is that whenever someone tells them, let's just say, for example, friends of Ben Affleck come to Jennifer Garner and they say, hey, do you know that your husband is very talented at XYZ? She will say, yes, I for sure know this, because this is something that not only she can see consistently, but it's also something that the people around them can see consistently, so the friends. If it was a companionship channel, this would be something that they would really get, not just from knowing it through other people, hearing it and knowing it for themselves as well, but really understanding it because they also have the same energy within them. The electromagnetic channels, for example, are channels where you either love or you hate them for it. So it's like the initial spark that couples have for one another. It's really what attracts you to the other person, but it's also what at some point will drive you crazy if you let it drive you crazy. So that is why when you have a lot of electromagnetics, it is still important to separate energetically and then come together again, separate, come together again. It doesn't mean you're breaking up, but it's just a separation, a physical separation, leaving the house for a few days or something like this, and then coming back together. There are lines in profiles that make this more or less important. For the fourth line, for example, that is also an important theme to just go and come back. It's not like the third line theme where it's making and breaking bonds, where it's really distance and separation makes the bond stronger every time they return, but the fourth line does need their alone time as well. It is a very important part for the fourth line to also have their alone time. Same as the second line, it's very important, and there are certain gates in the human design body graph. For example, the 33, the 12, and the 40, which are alone gates. And as you can see, Ben Affleck has the 33 and the 12, and he definitely needs his alone time as well, his space. He's an individual being as well, so yeah, he does need his space and alone time, because he goes through these melancholic waves as well, ups and downs and melancholy, and for that he just needs to also sometimes revel in it and be like, okay, I'm not trying to understand this melancholy, I'm just going to sit with it and see how I can use this creatively. Okay, then let's move to Jennifer Lopez first before we get into the connections or the love gates in more detail. So for Jennifer Lopez and for Jennifer Garner, we're not entirely sure of their time as far as I know. And with Jennifer Lopez, we chose to go with 12 p.m., even though Celestina had found a source which said 5 a.m. as an option as well. But we chose to still go with 12 p.m. for now. If you have any more information, we're happy to change our insights. So take it with a pinch of salt. Anyways, take everything with a pinch of salt, because we are just looking at these individuals through the press. We have no idea what is going on in their private life. We don't know how accurate any of these times are, even if for Ben Affleck it is saying that it's, I think 2:53 a.m. So that seems to be very precise, but even then we don't know when that time was taken. Okay, so it could have been taken the moment they cut the umbilical cord, it could have been taken the moment the head came out. There are many different options. Who knows how stressful it was in that operation room. So let's take a look at Jennifer Lopez. What we can see here, I would let you take over if you would like.
I would love to, because we have a companionship. channel, and I don't have a companion channel with anybody. This is exciting times, guys. So we are looking at a 6/2 sacral manifesting generator with an open head, an undefined ajna, a pretty well illuminated throat with connection to her ego directly, an undefined G center, a very well defined sacral center, an undefined spleen, an undefined emotional center with only 2 gates, and then a root center with only 1 gate slash channel connected to the sacral center. This is a very open chart, and I'm interested to learn more from you about it and kind of just see what I know about JLo. Out of the three of these people, I probably know, which is not very much, the most about JLo. So I'm very interested to just dive in a little bit more. Oh, okay. Way to split her chart. I love that. I love when people are reflectors on both sides. Yes, boo. I can relate so much.
Yeah, and I found that super interesting as well. I mean, what I saw when I was going through their designs, it was pretty surprising, and I'm going to probably step on a few toes here because I feel like a lot of people have a side on this. They're either for JLo, they're either for Ben Affleck. I don't know if they're for Jennifer Garner. I feel like she's keeping herself out of any kind of fires here, which is a good move. But I think it's very interesting as well because I didn't expect her chart to look like that. It makes sense in certain aspects, but if you're really listening to the media talk about her, I feel like she's portrayed in a different way. But I think it is a lot of conditioning that is happening with her. I think that there's a lot of things that are also being projected onto her, like the second line sometimes has, that people... Also, the 6th line, I feel like people are often looking at you as a role model and they're expecting you to be perfect in a lot of ways. But it's just not possible to do that, to be that. I know that this Superman savior image is projected onto the 5th line, but I do feel like the 6th line is often looked at as a role model. And especially she's approaching that age, as far as I know. I don't know, how old is she? Is she 50 already?
She's like 55.
Wow, so she's already beyond her Chiron return?
It happened, I Googled it. It happened like right before they got together too in 2021. So I thought that was really interesting. And back in the early 2000s, they were together around their Saturn returns.
Wow. Yeah, 1999. And Chiron returned April 19th, 2020. So as you know, if you've listened to the cycles that we covered, it doesn't happen on April 19th, 2020, that she hits her Chiron return and it flips overnight. It's a gradual process. It can take approximately 1.5 years before April 19, 2020 and 1.5 years after. But that's a very turbulent time, usually, around that time. And it's also, didn't you say that they separated in April 20th or something? Or was that just the divorce in August 20th?
No, they did separate in April of this year, though, of 2024.
Ah, this year. Yeah, it's still interesting. What the cycles can also provide as insights. So a lot of if we would look into this deeper, if we would really analyze their relationships, it would still be important to also look at when they met. When was the first time they met? When was the first time they started to feel attracted to one another? And maybe it's the same time, maybe it's a different time, because planets can also play a role in these things. If you have a hanging gate, especially if it's a bridging gate, so that means if you're a split and 1 gate would bridge your split, or maybe 2 gates and there are long-term planetary activations that are floating around, it can still give you the idea or the feeling that you're attracted to a certain person, even though it's the planets that are defining it and activating that and pushing you to be attracted to a certain person in that time frame. So this is also an interesting aspect that should not be forgotten about when you're talking about relationships, because the time you meet, the time you start to be together also is often connected to planets, especially if there is a separation sometime down the line, because that shows that the energy was there for a certain time and then it left again. So the connection was not as strong as it was when you first came together. This can, of course, also be connected to electromagnetic channels, as we talked about, because the electromagnetics, they can create this initial spark, and then at some point you kind of fall out of love, because that spark and that love, intense love that you had for that person, becomes a I really don't like this about you. We didn't talk about the compromise channels yet. So that was the fourth one. We have the dominance, we have the companionship, we have electromagnetic, and we have compromise. And the compromise is when one person has a full channel. So when you're looking here at Bennifer, Garner, and Ben Affleck, you see the 1156. Ben Affleck has the 56 gate and Bennifer Garner has the full channel. So this is an area of compromise, especially because her channel is connected to the 56 in her Earth, and in her Jupiter she has gate 11. However, this compromise only kicks in at the beginning of Ben Affleck's life, so up to approximately 40. After that, and this is an environment situation for him. So this is for him important when he looks at his environment, what he sees in his environment. So it's interesting that he was with her within his 30s, 40s, I'm assuming. Maybe even beyond that. It's more of a thing that he sees in his environment and he needs to deal with in his environment to be able to grow and evolve. And when he's able to handle that and understand that this is just part of it and that he needs to just go through the motions, he will have an easier time than if he's trying to fight against this element. So for her, it's a grounding energy. The 5611 channel is a lot about curiosity. It's the storyteller. It's also often people that are interested in historical aspects. It's connected to the abstract circuitry, so it's more of a creative channel than it is of a logical aspect, because the logical is on the other side, which they're also defining together, but again through his south node, not his north node. So I find these elements very, very intriguing, but as you can see, it's still a compromise. So in the end, Bennifer Garner, is going to be the one that is going to dominate the way that the inspiration that they're receiving. So they're both still undefined in their head, in their connecting charts. They're both undefined in their ego. So these are the two areas where they are learning things from others, where they still have energies coming in from other individuals. And those are very big learning curves in their relationships. The willpower element, the understanding that I am good enough, which is often a big challenge in undefined egos, always trying to prove themselves, especially with the 51, wanting to be first, wanting to be wanting to be the best, and this is in her Mars energy. So this is something that at the beginning of her life, she must have really dove into that aspect of, I need to be good enough, I need to be better, I need to be the best, I need to be number one. This is unconscious in her design, and it's something that may develop into a more balanced version because it's Mars, it still needs to learn and grow. The element of the head center is also where they receive the inspiration from the outside world. So there are probably individuals who like to go to the theater together, maybe art galleries, maybe just anything that inspires them from outside, hang out with friends that are inspiring. So these are the two areas where they're 7 and 2 work to do. So there is the relationship dynamics of 7 and 2 work to do. So those are just, instead of the 8 and 1 have some fun, you just have an additional element of where you kind of have to work on the relationship. It is a single definition, so they are also feeling complete within one another. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's no gates or splits to bridge within one another because they're already single definitions within one another. So it's just a very comfortable, still comfortable relationship with some compromises. Yes, before going into that, we're going to now go to Jennifer Lopez. It's just every time I'm like, okay, maybe I can. No, let's go talk about Jennifer Lopez first a little bit more. As we saw when we're taking the design element and the personality element apart, she becomes a reflector. That doesn't mean she is a reflector. She stays a manifesting generator no matter what, but she becomes very sensitive. She is a very sensitive manifesting generator. She is still quite open as a manifesting generator. She has 5 centers undefined, 4 centers defined. But as we had said, it's not consciously defined and it's not unconsciously defined. So she is maybe not even aware that she has all of these energy centers, the sacral, the root, and the ego. The older you get, the more you get to know yourself, the more aware you become of these things. And also, if you look at it from the outside, if you look at Jennifer Lopez, you see that she has a lot of energy. At least that's what I feel when I look at her. The way that she's dancing in her music videos, all the things that she's always up to. Not that I'm following her, but she's kind of in your face a lot of times in a lot of things. And there was, I don't know, I feel like when I was listening to her music as well, that's how I connect with musicians. I listen to their music. I feel like there was a lot of music coming out one after another. There was a lot of hit singles from her. I mean, everyone knows Jennifer Lopez. Everyone knows at least one song of hers. And she's always also there to do exactly that. Left angle cross of distraction has a lot to do with her voice, with impacting others through what she's saying. She's, and you can see that in her career. It's very fascinating. I feel like she has impacted a lot of people with her music, whether it is about breakups or feeling stronger within yourself. I always found her very interesting. On the other hand, she has image that she is a diva and that she is very difficult. I don't know if that is true. I've heard different people saying different things, but a lot of people are saying that she seems to be very difficult. I don't know in what way. It would be interesting to know in what way, because her design their design is actually, in my opinion, showing that Ben Affleck may have been more difficult in this relationship. And this is a very bold statement to say here, but let's just take a look at their design. So let's take a look at their combination charts. I highlighted the love gate channels here in Canva because I just feel like it's easier for me to take a look at it this way and to go through what we see here. So Ben Affleck, as you can see, all the things that are circled are these love gates that we were talking about. And I hope you're watching. Otherwise, you may want to head over to Spotify or YouTube, because it's just going to get easier to explain it that way. But I'm going to try my best to go through it and explain the gates as well individually. You can see that he has 3 of the 4 transpersonal love gates. So he's got the 10th gate, the 15th gate, and the 46th gate. Gate 41, gate 55, gate 40, and gate 44, and gate 25, which is another one of the transpersonal love gates. But those other ones are personal ones, and he has them undefined. So there's nothing that is pointing towards them. It's completely undefined and just, nothing that he may also desire or anything like that. Now, if we are looking at the root, however, you can see that his root is undefined. So gate 58 is not even going to come into the picture until someone else comes into the picture with a defined root, which is very interesting, especially in the love gates and the relationship dynamics. So let's translate all of that. Gate 46 is the love of the body, the form, and that is not a lusting over someone because they're sexy, which can be interpreted that way. If you have 2 of the most beautiful women at your hand as a partner, of course, you're going to most likely find them sexy. Let's hope he did. But it's really more about loving your body, treating it like a temple, and it is not personal. It is also loving other people's forms, loving other forms in general. So it doesn't even have to be people, it can also be animals. And I can heavily relate to that because I have this gate and I love forms. I love shapes. I love photographing bodies as well. So I see it it's not sexual to me. It is artistic, if you can understand what I'm saying here. So that is what 46 is about. It is a pure non-sexual love. Actually, all of these love gates are non-sexual except for the 41st. That has a sexual tone to it. Then gate 15 is about the love of humanity. However, it also is about this flow and rhythm. So the gate 15 is more about flow. It's less about rigid structure. And he has the 3410. So this channel provides him with the energy to take care of himself. It is a self-love gate. It is a personal gate. It is also a transpersonal one, which is about the love of life. So you have both of these elements in there, but when it is in a personal element, so in this case, he can be seen as very self-centered, actually. And he's always busy taking care of himself and focusing on himself as well. However, he does have the 57. So the 57 provides him with the intuition to know what to focus on and what to care about. The 58th gate, as I said, is in an undefined root. But the energy of I love you, you're imperfect, let me correct you is there. It's just not active. But if a partner comes into play that is defining his root, and you can see that happens when Jennifer Garner comes into the picture, she defines his root. And then it's going to be a potential nagging if they're in the shadow aspect of, hey, you're not perfect. You need to correct this. I love you, but you need to work on that. So it can be a nagging form. But if you really just look at the mechanics of the whole thing and you accept that this is part of them, then you can understand that they're just trying to do that, and that should be the initial intention. It should be you tell them what they can correct to make a better version, to make them a better version of themselves, and that is going to help the collective. That is what this is about. It is a collective gate. It's supposed to support other people to become a better version of themselves for the collective, not for the relationship or for just yourself, actually. That's where the challenge often happens within these relationships. The 28th gate is one that has a lot of challenges. It's about struggle, and it's the belief that we have to struggle to find love together, otherwise there is no purpose. And the struggle is not about having a difficult relationship per se, but the struggle is about becoming the best version of yourself, working on yourself, being yourself. That is the struggle, and each partner being themselves. So when you're looking at both of them together, you can see that they create an electromagnetic connection here throughout the struggle. So this is a very attractive part for them, to have this let's struggle together, and I love you for that. But it's also an element that can create this I hate you for that, for always trying to be the best version of yourself per se, or always trying to find purpose through me. I'm not here to just provide this purpose to you, and this can go both ways, of course. But he has the 28 as the defined love gate, and she gives him the energy from the other side, the root, the adrenaline, to push him and to complete his circuitry as well, to push it to the throat. So there's a lot of energy happening there. She also has the 58, so their relationship dynamic, that can be that they're both nagging each other and telling each other, you need to be better here, you need to be better there, you need to improve, you left the toothpaste without the cap again, you didn't take out the trash, and all of these things. So it can be very challenging. The 41st gate is something that she has defined, and that is about fantasizing about someone else. So when she comes into the picture, they're struggling together to have a love that brings purpose to them through the other. They are potentially nagging each other and telling each other, hey, you need to fix that to become a better version of yourself. Then she is going to also potentially fantasize about others. She's not going to feel fully satisfied with him. And on top of that, she also has gate 55, which is also defined in her chart. So it's a consistent energy which keeps saying, I really don't know. So if he asks her, do you love me? Do you love me? Then she may say, I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And this may have been something that was there from the get-go. I don't know how they got together. I don't know how long it took them to get together. I don't know how often he proposed, or if he just proposed once, or when he really knew that she was going to say, yes, I do know. But there is this dynamic that keeps happening over and over again. And it is something that is just ingrained into their design. It doesn't mean that this is personal per se. It is activated by him, and these are personal love elements, the bottom ones, the lower ones. But you can't take it personal. If you just understand that this is what happens, this is the energy that happens, it becomes easier, and you start to take these quote-unquote naggings as, okay, yeah, this is really something that I can improve, and this is really something that I should work on. And if she doesn't know, then she doesn't know. It's an individual circuitry gate. It is something that she really needs to become sure of. She and him, they both have gate 57, so there is a certain intuition within them that can provide clarity. There's the 3420 that is going up into the throat from her. This is, again, a channel that she has, a full channel, which also means that she's constantly going to be busy, in the now, doing things in the now, where he's busy taking care of himself all the time. And that can also create challenges where she's like, why do you always focus on yourself? Can you not give me some time and energy and attention as well? So yeah, there's a lot of transpersonal energy, but also a lot of personal love that is happening.
It's so interesting, that last piece, because I just did a quick Google on Jennifer Garner to see if she'd been married after him or married before him. She'd been married before him, but the first article that came up is Ben's needy.
Yeah, we should have really looked at these tabloids.
Yeah. So I just think that that's interesting that it's outwardly being seen potentially. So, but I mean, it makes sense in their relationship dynamics just by their human designs meshing, or rather not meshing.
Yeah, I mean, you can turn everything around. I was just showing the shadow aspects because they are divorced, but there's also a lot of positive things that can happen, and they are here. For example, the 5027 channel, it is here to provide the right kind of education and support for their kids. So I think as a friendship, they are still able to make it work very well, or co-parenting. They're still able to provide that kind of energy. It's just that there can be difficulties within a relationship, but once you understand these aspects, it can be okay, theoretically. Okay, so let's take a short little look at Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. Here we have the 4 transpersonal gates that are defined: 10, 15, 46, and 25. And then we have 2 again of the personal gates being defined. So the 58 and the 28. The other ones are undefined. So let's quickly just take a short little look at their design separately again. So what happens is that they're defining the emotional solar plexus together, which becomes important. So where Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck, she is bringing in the emotional wave into the relationship. In the relationship with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, they're defining the emotional solar plexus together through electromagnetics. In the relationship, when it comes to decision-making processes, they need their time. When it comes to their individual decisions, they are still their own inner authorities. So they are still sacral authorities, as far as I remember. Yes, Jennifer Lopez is a sacral authority, inner authority, and Ben Affleck is also a sacral inner authority. So they have this gut response, but when it comes to making decisions for their relationship together, they need to take time to do so. Additionally, as well, she has an undefined spleen, so that creates challenges in the relationship, whereas that she may have a hard time letting go of him. She wants to latch onto him because it's a nice feeling energy that he has, and it's difficult to release him. It's interesting that she was the one that served him the divorce papers. That must have taken a lot of energy from her to do so, because they're also an 9 and 0 nowhere to go.
The piece about the 58, I think in their relationship is really interesting, right? Because then he would be the nagging one, because she doesn't have much going on down there herself and bringing to the love gates. I just watched one video of their dynamic being married, and I think it was talking about like the initial scripting for the documentary movie thing that they did, and she was like talking about being 28 and like playing that role again. He's like, but you're gonna cast someone for that role because you're not 28, and she's like, but I'm just talking about like this experience then. And like he just kept like feeling a little pokey at her, and like it just didn't, like, externally looking in, I think the post said something like joking like, "Oh, like isn't it cute how like open they are and like this conversation." I'm like, "This feels icky. Like this does not feel like a healthy relationship kind of vibe. Like there's teasing and then there's like digging, and that did not feel good." So, I think that was one example of how this could transpire or how this could play out. Icky.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very interesting point that you brought up, because the 58, yeah, it's about um this trying to find things that are wrong with the other person. And as I said, it can be useful if you're doing it out of love. It's not trying to find every little issue and pointing out every little issue. Sometimes you just have to hold yourself back. You know that this is your energy, but you don't have to speak everything out, and especially not if it's something that is going to hurt the other person. So you can give positive criticism, which the 58 can do, but you can also do it in a hurtful way. And what you're describing sounds hurtful. It doesn't sound like it's constructive. It doesn't sound like it's helpful. But it's just, yeah, it's pointing out that, yeah, she's not able to play that role anymore because she's not 28, which she probably didn't even want to do. And the 28th gate is the only one that she has. So there's nothing else personal, love related. She's wide open everywhere else. Nothing pointing towards it. Nothing she's longing for as well. But this longing comes through the fact that she's a split definition, and she's a wide split definition. So she needs to at least have 2 gates to connect this split, because one gate is only going to define her G center, but it's still not going to create the connection. She needs more than one gate to create this connection, to feel whole per se.
More recently, like post-divorce, she's been on tour or whatever it's called with like promoting the movies, and it was her and Mark Wahlberg, I believe, or a dude who looks like Mark Wahlberg. It might have been a dude who looks like Mark Wahlberg. Nonetheless, they were at the Toronto International Film Festival, and I just feel so bad because these people's lives are put on blast. But she was like, "I'm just not good at like choosing," meaning like choosing the right human for her. And like that sucks, right? So she probably, this just harks on the split that she has, and like the desire to be with someone who meets these splits and just not choosing the right people time and time again and feeling that way. Like that sucks. Pretty sure she's been married like 3 or 4 times. I could be wrong, but it's, yeah, such a bummer, man.
Yeah. And also this undefined G center is also, she wants to have a direction, and she feels like, or Ben Affleck was able to provide her with a sense of direction. Like she feels, okay, first of all, she feels good because of his spleen. So she feels this charming, cozy, comfortable, healthy, quote unquote healthy energy. So the spleen is about the health and the intuition to survive, and survival instinct. And when someone really has taken care of themselves, it is a very, very wholesome energy. It is super nice. But when they're not, then it's just something that is, it can create toxic relationships where you're latching onto it, you don't want to let go. And the G center provides her the feeling like she knows where to go, she knows which direction to go. And he also gave her the 3410 energy. So he does have the full channel. So he did provide her with this feeling of, I have the 34 energy, but I don't know where to put it, what to put it in, which direction to go. And he gave her the sense of, okay, with you, I feel seen. You see me, you give me the energy for me to take care of myself as well. So there's a lot that he activated, which felt good to her. But yeah, it can be challenging. And the way to avoid all of that is really, again, I said that in the last episode, I'm saying it again, but entering into relationships correctly. That is the key. So listen to your strategy, follow your strategy, not listen, but follow your strategy. I've mentioned them for each type. There is a strategy. And once the strategy has taken its course, so if you're a generator, for example, you had something to respond to, you need to follow your inner intuition, and you need to listen to your intuition, your inner authority, to know if that opportunity that arose, that triggered your sacral, is the right one for you. Not every invitation, not every situation is going to be right for you. Not every download is right for you. Really follow your inner authority. And then when that has happened, when you're following these strategies and you're listening to your inner authority, the relationship dynamics, the love that you're feeling for the person, they're going to be less challenging. It's just going to be a more natural way of life. It's going to feel more natural. It's going to feel more connected, more wholesome, more loving. So yeah, I found it interesting that all the love gates that she has defined are in undefined centers. So they're not consistently there. Even the love for humanity, it's not consistent, or not for the humanity, the unconscious love, unconditional love aspect, gate 25, and gate 46, the love of form, it's not consistently there. So everything related to love is for her really something that she can only experience and express when someone else is bringing that center, is defining that center for her.
I think this is a really good episode, even though we chose to do this when they were still together. I think that it's really cool still looking at the relationships and seeing the different dynamics that one individual brings to two separate relationships, and then vice versa, the energy that those two individuals bring to the relationship with that person too, and kind of seeing how it makes it work or how it doesn't. And also, it was Matt Damon, not Marky Mark. They look very similar.
I think they're very close friends, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. That's what I had read somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that also would be an interesting one, because I think Matt Damon has always been there since their first movie together. What was it, Pearl Harbor? I think.
That far back, damn.
That I think, but they've been friends for a very long time, so their bromance should also be analyzed one day.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna put that on the list. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's bromance.
Yeah, that's the longest relationship either one of them had, I assume.
Bet you they have an open head together.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Now you're gonna deep dive.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love relationship dynamics. I think, to me, that's the most fascinating part, and it's endless. I mean, you can analyze each individual, and then you analyze the relationship. And I think that's also, you know how it's said that projectors are not here to know themselves?
Yeah.
As in they get to know themselves. That's the wrong way of saying it. They get to know themselves through the other that way. And I love looking at connection charts with me. I don't like looking at my own, but I like looking at what happens when that person and I come together in relationships and friendships and business in all kinds of ways, and family. I like to understand it that way.
Interesting. Like the energy that others bring to you.
Yeah, or what I bring, or where we're in compromise, where the challenges lie, where the potential lies. I find that super fascinating.
I like group dynamics. Like one-on-one is fine, but I love seeing like a penta come together. Yeah. I think because my skill set is bringing people together slash bringing resources together, so it's just really cool to see the energy that I can like foster and put together, you know?
That's interesting.
Yeah. Love a good penta reading.
Hmm. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's not. I mean, it's interesting, but it's definite. For me, it's connection charts, like relationships in all sorts.
Yeah. I wish I had Luna's accurate birth time and a more accurate doggo reading on her.
Yeah, me too. Because I also feel, you know how when you're walking out in the park and you meet people, normally when I'm by myself without anyone, I have my headphones in and I don't want to talk to anyone. But with Ananda, it's okay. It's not like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
against it. But when there's my dog, I'm like, okay, it's fine. When people talk to me and I even engage in conversation, I'm not like, okay, shh. I'm listening to something. I don't want to talk. No, I'm okay.
Oh, I definitely still wear noise canceling headphones when I'm walking Luna. And only if she interacts with someone else's dog do I then take them off and interact with the human.
Yeah,
But I
me
introduce
too, of
myself
course.
to the dog first.
Yeah, I usually do that too. I mean, normally, no matter how often you meet someone with a dog, you usually don't know the name of the owner. You know the name of the dog, but you don't know the name of the owner. At least that's...
I try and be better about like
Okay.
introducing Luna first, asking their dog's name, and then I'm like, well, hey, I'm Celestina.
Very good. Very good.
You know, just got to inform. Just got to inform out here.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being back.
Dude,
It
I'm
was
stoked.
fun. So
Yep.
much more fun.
Thank you for allowing me to have the week off because my life has been a hot mess for the last 2 weeks moving. Oh yeah, guys, new background. I'm not going to show you the floor because it's a hot mess, but new space. Who dis?
So happy that you're now in a mold-free space.
Hey yo. Mold free and back to condo life. Love me a good condo slash elevator situation.
Perfect. All works
All right,
out for
guys.
the best.
Oh, it does. Totes. Luna's happier. I'm happier. Just a little tired, but all good.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone. And yeah, leave us a comment if you would like to say something about the episode, or if you have any kind of recommendations, suggestions, desires on what we should talk.
Until then, ciao, guys.
Bye.